and welcome back to the Z101 podcast with me, Chinamiko. I am not alone, I'm with my friend, my bestie in podcasting, my pod sister, my pod girlfriend. Fiancé. Mama.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have a guest on this episode.
And what are we talking about?
I think we're taking a slightly different tangent. We're now going into more of a business conversation around what running a business is like in Zambia. But this is a particularly interesting business.
It's a very interesting topic.
Yeah. So you tell us.
I would like us to welcome our very, very nice guest, Thandi Shinka Favard.
Yes.
Welcome to Z101 podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We do apologize for any glitches that have happened.
And will happen.
They will continue happening, and I will have you know that anything that goes wrong has got nothing to do with me.
It's ZESCO.
Niaba.
I think we can blame everything on ZESCO.
ZESCO and Airtel.
Yeah.
So how are you?
I'm okay.
You're good.
I'm surviving.
You're surviving?
Yeah.
That's a standard Zambian answer.
I think so.
You
We're
either say
alive.
I'm surviving.
No, we're pushing. That's
pushing.
the Zambian answer.
No, but the one that irritates me.
Yeah.
I'm blessed.
Oh, yes. No, but everybody else is not
I
blessed.
said,
Other than those that are blessed.
yeah, but like, I'm blessed. I'm like, okay.
No, but remember, we had, what was it? Lesana football, something. What was
Less
that?
than a baller.
Yeah.
What's that?
God and football.
Yeah, just like that.
Okay.
Anyways, what does Thandi do? What do you know about Thandi?
Introduce her properly.
Oh,
Allow
wait.
her to
Shall
tell
we
us.
see
No,
it?
because we're just going to now dilute the message.
Shall we see? Oh, let's ask her. Can she?
Yeah, go for it. So,
Thandi,
Yeah.
please
how
tell
do
us.
you two know each other, first of all?
Yeah, good question.
He knows my husband more. Friends with my husband. And then, I don't know if you, then I think you asked me to do something on radio about
Yes.
the business.
Yeah,
And that's where,
that's how we knew each other.
Okay.
She came, did a show on radio. It was very good. She came with her husband, and yeah, we talked about their business. So, Thandi, what do you do?
first of all, I've got this thing of, you know how when somebody introduces you to someone and they say, this is my husband, the husband's got a name. So so the husband here is Manu. Okay. You're like, okay, hi husband.
You know?
But his name is Manu, and I'm a quail farmer. So I run a business that grows and sells quails in Zambia.
I think the first message is, why quail? How quail?
Why not in Coco?
I never
Like
started
every other
it.
Zambian.
Oh, ducks.
Chicken farm.
Ducks, eh?
Or tomatoes.
We used to do ducks.
Those big
used to do
bushveld ducks.
No, the Peking duck.
Taking that.
The Peking duck. We used to, and then at some point, a certain demographic of people started importing them for quarter of the price of our production cost.
She doesn't want to say
Chinese
it.
Yes.
How much are you?
And yet it was banned in the country. So we don't know how they were coming in the country. This is about what? During COVID, this is about 4 years ago. And then the quail business, I never started the quail business. My parents did. Initially, Bien Donne used to produce vegetables. We used to sell vegetables into Freshmark. Freshmark who supplies the ShopRites and exports as well. So that's how the farm started. And then quail, my dad was like, okay, you know what? It seems Zambians love game, and quail is more on the game side. And that's how we started with the quail farming.
What year was that when the quail
I think it
started?
was, I think 20, I can't remember, hey? I need to look at that. I think my dad would remember that.
Okay.
I just remember growing up, eating lots of vegetables every day by force. And then suddenly quails came in the picture.
To my tiny little birds. Okay. To my tiny little chickens. To my mini chickens, eh?
Mini chickens, yeah.
But it tastes good.
So they started the quail farm. So how did it really take off? Like, is it just the same place where they sell it, or do they get specific orders that seem to, like, from, do you export? And yeah.
We don't export yet, even though we're we should have been exporting by now. Because so one of the biggest supporters of Bien Donne Farm is ShopRite Zambia. So they took a chance on us and introduced the product Quail ShopRite initially. And as the people saw this product, and in Zambia you always see them in the maize field. So people are like, okay, there's two people that don't eat quail because they're too small or for whatever reasons, or they don't know about them. But then ShopRite Melissa as well is one of our biggest supporters as well. And that's how people started getting to know the product and started buying the product. And then we started distributing to all ShopRites nationwide.
Amazing.
So they've been a huge support to us actually in getting, because we are the only quail supplier into ShopRite.
Is there anyone else doing quail in Lusaka?
There is. A lot of people do quails, but at very small numbers, not like the way we do it. We do it at large numbers. Our max production is 120,000 per month.
Wow.
But since COVID, the most we've ever reached is 90,000. We've been struggling to get back to that 120,000. The need for quail is there, but the cost of production is a bit too high.
How long does it grow what's the start to end? How long for a quail?
Incubation is 18 days, and then growth for ours is 34 days, because we are the only ones who have the breed that we have, which is the Isa Jumbo.
Okay.
So the other ones will take about 40 to 41 days. For us, it's just the 34 days and it's ready. And there's no difference between French quail and jumbo quail. I hear that a lot. It's the same thing. It's just the breed that we have.
Isn't yours like a special one?
It is. But it's the one and the same. So you get people that say, no, buy these eggs. These are jumbo eggs and these are French quail eggs. There's nothing like that. It's just if you have a good breed of quail like we do, you get the big ones and you get the small ones, but it's the same breed.
Interesting. Sorry, I distracted you.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I get confused about the quail eggs.
Yeah.
Why are they assumed to be more nutritious than the standard egg?
So most of it is they're quite low in your, for example, if you have allergies. If you're allergic to chicken eggs, most people will never be allergic to quail eggs.
I didn't even know people were allergic to chicken eggs.
Yeah, there's people who are allergic to, and then also it's one of those things where it's an 80% natural product, because we don't put all these hormones and all these medicines for them, the Newcastle, the Gumburo, like the way you do with the chickens. So it's almost an 80% organic product. So that means that you don't have all these, medicines in the eggs and all that. So it makes it a lot more healthy to eat than the usual chicken egg, for example.
She's being modest. She's supposed to tell us that she's the biggest quail producer in the country. I'm the second biggest in Africa.
At this rate, I don't know, eh?
So let's explore that. The Egyptians are the ones who are number one?
Yes. So the Egyptians do over 2 million birds per month.
Wow.
Jesus.
They do a lot of quail. We, at our max production, is 120,000. But with, again, I'll bring in ShopRite, and this is not advertising ShopRite, but it's the truth, and I'll talk about them quite a bit. So what ShopRite had started working on because of the quail is to try and get the quail into other southern countries. If we give an example of ShopRite South Africa, they have over 300 stores in South Africa itself, or is it 200? I'm not sure. But imagine each store ordering 1,000 packets of quails per month. That's 300,000 packets of quails. And then also what you need to know is that quail farming is very labor intensive. So for every 120,000 quails we produce, we need 150 people.
Wow.
So it requires a lot of hands-on. A lot of hands-on taking care. They don't like to be in a dirty environment. They don't like to be in a wet environment.
Wow.
And if a person works in one house, they can't be working in the next house because of disease. So you don't want to bring disease from one to the end.
Gosh.
2 million.
Yes.
So my question now is, how come the South Africans are not doing it?
Some countries are very pro what they know. For example, South Africa, it's chicken. when we went there for a show, they looked at the quail and said, "But is this a small chicken?" And I said, "No, it's not a small chicken." And also, it's considered to be a high-end product, so you find it in your 5-star, 4-star hotels.
Yeah.
And this is where in Zambia, then this is what Zambians don't understand, is that here it's like become a normal food. But in other places, it's like a upmarket, upmarket food.
Quail on the menu.
Yes. So it's one of the more expensive products that you find on the menu.
My mom used to love, like, when we're in the UK and she sees quail on the menu. Always quail. Oh, I love the quail. Like, remembering home here.
And here it's just like it's a normal thing.
I had quail because of her. You know, the first time I ate quail was because of you.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who don't know quail and the benefits of eating quail.
Maybe it's because how they cook like a damn thing in what's that place? The Pick and Pay, the Daddy. It's just a little thing.
Overfried.
Yeah, it's weird. But I hear it's also good for men. Is it the eggs that are good for men?
It's the eggs. So I don't know if it's scientific. I haven't seen anything on it. But there's people that swear by it, that I can't mention names, but come to the farm almost every week to pick up their quail eggs. And it's usually the older generation. So for them, it's like your libido.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, your libido, apparently it helps with that. Performance, the quail eggs help with that.
These slightly older gentlemen that are coming.
Yes, I'm like, okay. We've got a pandemic in this country, but who am I? So apparently it really helps.
Tell us
And
more.
it's the older, the 50s, the 40-somethings and above.
60 or so.
40. I'm 50s.
I'm telling you.
40 is not old.
No, it's not old, but then it kind of says something. Because there's people who don't want to buy them in the stores, because when you buy quail eggs, it's either affiliated to your libido or it's affiliated
that's so
to
bad, because like nobody cares, no one's looking at you. It's your own embarrassment, because you want it's like buying condoms, isn't it? Like I was in Shoppy's one day, because it's just up there, and you're bagging stuff, and then I look up and the guy on the next hill's got like 5 condoms, and I was like, good for you,
Action Jackson.
It's still a taboo to be spoken
But
about.
to my tiny, to my eggs, like this, you crack all of like a whole tray.
Yo, how would you cook them?
Well, you just boil them. I have at least 2 a day.
These are popular, it's like
There's no medical,
Too bitty.
but it helps me with my blood pressure because I'm hypertensive.
Okay.
So I said I'm not getting on this long-term medication. I'm still young. But quail eggs, and if something upsets me, I just knock off and I go home. And I'll sort it out later. Because at the end of the day, I always say, "Nganafa lelo nkasho bwali." It's not even about the kids.
Oh, see now.
It's about the shima.
So, about this gentleman who come, do you have CCTV?
No, I'm not going to tell you.
around what
If they
time?
see this, they'll be
Around
like,
what time?
I mean, we can take a drive
I
inside.
think so.
Like this one. So just said, no, prepare for me. We just prepare. We just take to the cars.
It's African.
But they swear by it.
Yeah.
There's one guy, he swears that's the reason they were trying to have a baby for a long, I hope he doesn't watch this, but I won't mention names. They were trying with the wife to have a baby, and he went on quail eggs for a whole year. And he believes he had his baby girl because of...
He was like, he became He-Man.
So I don't know.
That's your USP, you know?
So I don't know if that's the true reason, but he says it is.
Wow.
So, guys, buy quail eggs. No school Shupika, Dr. Vongo, Dr. Sani. No. Just go to Thandi's farm, buy a whole pack load of them.
And eat one a day.
Okay,
Even with your flu, with the kids, 1 quail egg per day, you will notice that the kids won't have as many flus.
Gosh.
So it helps with your immune system. But most people think it's because I'm trying to sell a product. But my kids don't get that many flus in a year.
Okay, so getting back to the topic, you said ShopRite alone, and are they trying to get this? Because I know Lubumbashi is a big market.
Yeah.
Are they trying to do this for you as well?
So with Lubumbashi, the issue with, I don't know the nitty-gritties of why we can't export into Lubumbashi, especially through the ShopRite route. But my own route is there's just too much requirement for you to take. It's more on the, you pay this one something, you pay that one something. So by the time the product is getting into Lubumbashi itself, it's maybe 5 times the cost at which it's supposed to be. So most of us just end at Kasumbalesa. It's much easier, and you allow the people from Congo themselves to handle.
Yeah, they come grab it. And
Yeah.
Have you been to Kasumbalesa?
I'd love to.
She can tell you about. You've been, huh?
It's a beautiful, chaotic yet structured.
Wow.
There is organized
business.
chaos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Organized chaos. Yes.
You'll be like, this just did not. You even start following people like.
Wow.
They do things that your average Zambian will never do. Yeah, the way they carry their loads, just the way they do business. Like, what's going on here? The amount of business that flows between that Kasumbalesa and like a no man's land getting into that is it's unbelievable. But guess who's gone there? Zambia.
Oh yes.
Zambia.
Zambia, Kachema as well are there.
Selling everything.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Because Congo imports most of it. I mean, the size, Lubumbashi, the amount of people in Lubumbashi is Zambia's population.
Wow.
And they import almost everything. They don't grow a lot. I mean, now they're starting to. Like, it's a country that's starting to self-develop. And this is what I was talking about to somebody. I said, in the next 10, 20 years, that whole Kasumbalesa, I don't know if it would be, because then if you look at the amount of trucks that go into Congo, it's building material. They're starting to grow chickens themselves, so we're sending feed. But we don't realize that very soon they'll say, you know what, we're self-sufficient now. Do we really need you? But, you know, Zambians, we are reactive rather than proactive.
100%.
Okay. Should we flip it and find someone else to blame about how things are gone wrong?
But we always find somebody else.
Okay, let's flip it. You and ZNF, how are they helping in
Which one is ZNF?
ZNF, Zambia National Farmers Union.
Oh, I'm not part of that.
You deliberately decided not to be part of it. Okay. Too much drama.
Too much politics. I don't like, if we're going to, you know, the thing is that for me, this is my view of things. If you're going to collectively come together to improve something for the country that's going to benefit everybody in that industry, it must. There should not be too much red tape. I haven't dealt with ZNF for years now. My dad used to. I haven't, because I find we do a lot of talking in this country, a lot of talking, MOUs are signed, handshakes are had, and then from there it's just, you know, nothing. And the more you talk, I'm seen to be too talkative and too, you know,
like a radical.
Yes, it's like you're not the norm of how everybody agrees to something. And you say, yeah, but this is how no. If you're going to develop the country, do it so that every Zambian can benefit. If Bien Donne Farm exports, we will be the guinea pig for export. We will make the mistakes. We will triumph over certain things, and then everybody else will follow suit and say, okay, we're not supposed to do this like this, we shouldn't do this like this. There's a lab that does the testing for export, and the whole country can export. How is it that South Africa had an issue with its chickens, and South Africa had to import chickens from Brazil, and yet there's Zambia right here who can produce, and we can produce.
It was so weird that period.
Yeah, we can produce. How are Brazilian chickens passing through Zambia going to DRC, and they're not even ending up in DRC, but, you know, I don't have evidence to that.
That's another story.
But how? You know, when the Zambian market can produce, if properly supported.
So back to the Farmers Union though, like where are things like that useful to you? Like, would something like that be useful to you? Or how would you make something like the union more useful to you?
Honestly, right now, because I haven't dealt with the union in a very long time, I can't say much on it. I don't know what has changed and what has improved. I was actually thinking of going and rejoining. But if it's anything of what it used to be, it has to be collective minds wanting, like I keep saying, every Zambian to benefit from what comes out of it. And if we have said as Bien Donne Farm Ltd, listen, we'll be used as a flagship for export of perishable, then use us because we have the market. and people want our product. We got an order from UAE, from Dubai, for 60,000 packets of quails in 2021 when there was the Dubai Expo.
Yes.
We've never been able to export that because to be honest, it's reached a point where I don't even know why.
The same reason why you could not export the goats, I suppose. Because remember, we signed some MOUs to export Zambian goats to Dubai, and it's never materialized.
No, and you reach a point where you don't know why.
So what I know for the goats is that we were given a blanket statement about winning this, having this agreement done between Zambia and UAE, but then the demands inside the intricate details were not explained to us until they started coming out little by little. Like they needed to have male goats only. So at that point I was like, okay, I'm done. I don't think I want to get into that space. So it probably answers the situation as well. As in 60,000 you can export, but the details behind it.
The details are not a problem. At the end of the day, what the customer wants is what the customer gives. You can't then come in and say, okay, but yeah, you want male goats. Me, I can only produce a lot of females. That's a you problem. It's not the customer's problem. The customer has told you what they want. So you produce to what the customer wants. You find something to do with the male goats, with the female goats. Use them as breeding stock. So for us, it's just the certifications to make sure that there's no disease being carried from Zambia to Dubai, everything. We don't have, maybe now we do because I've actually even just given up on trying to find out, or maybe I just don't know, where you can go to a lab and the requirement of export is met by Zambia. The file for requirement of export into South Africa is this thick.
Hey.
But what you have to understand is that South Africa is protecting an industry. I say an industry they don't have, but they're still protecting an industry. For this country, you can import anything. Anything can come in.
Well, we've
What
seen
do we
that happening.
protect? Or we protect, I always give an example of the onions and potato saga. It happens every year, almost at the same time.
Yeah.
And you find that they've banned the importation of onions. It's not because the Zambian farmer cannot produce those onions. It's because we don't have the proper drying system to dry the onions so they can last in the stores. That's where the issue is. So you find Zambian onions grow faster. They sprout within a week. And then you want to come and say, yeah, but ShopRite is not buying from the Zambian farmers. But when that happens, who has a loss here? And it's not fair that an organization should have a loss based on the fact that we have to buy your product.
Yeah, and look, their role is, okay, they want to sell as quickly as possible, but things that don't sell need to last as long as possible as well. So, and depending on if they're transferring things, like you're saying, even transferring, if you're buying something from Lusaka that you need to then send to ShopRite in, I don't know, Luapula or something, right? You still need to be able to transition things without any hassles, without rotting, without damaging and bruising and all of these things, So there's a lot more to it than
There's a lot more to it. It's like what I talk about with the CDF funding. I get it, roads need to be done. I get it, hospitals need to be improved. I get it, schools need to be improved. That can be done. But if Zambia reached a point where we know that Eastern Province can grow X, Southern Province can grow Z, Central Province can grow this, we would then have a situation where you have dryers of onions. If onions do well in Eastern Province, that's all they do.
That's right, yeah.
But there's no,
But
even
effectively, that was what UNIP did, right?
Yes.
Each of the provinces, like you've got Kapiri glass, you've got Mulungushi textiles, like it was all specific industries in those specific areas.
If you go to China, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
You want to buy
you got
beddings.
like all the hair weaves is in one area.
Yes.
All the clothing is in another area.
We could do that.
Yeah.
But it's just that
But I don't think we've got industry large enough to do that.
we can create industry.
Yeah, but we don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it feels like Zambia still acts like a young, small country. We don't know how to grow up.
No, we're Zambia Kuchalo. We're still gonna.
You know what? How Kimi Baidon put it. Bad ideas, bad culture, and Bad leadership. That's why it's happening. That can happen very easily.
We know that for sure.
Yeah. We even know people can do it.
But for me, I'll argue on the point of, and this is something I figured out in the transition of the two governments, yeah? In Zambia, we have this habit of blame. We do a lot of blame games. If a woman is raped, how was she dressed?
Of course.
Where was she? Was she too drunk? Why was she looking like that? Why was she exposing herself like that? Why was she provoking? If she's beaten, why was she provoking that man? Why did she say this? The leaders in this country are picked from all of us seated here. So if you think that a woman's place is in the kitchen, then you become president. That is the mentality you're going to go with. So if we can't change how we think, how then do the leaders that are picked among us be any different? They won't be. And then when you see the person behaving the mirror image of you, me, if you make me president today, yes, I'm going to look after my family, my friends, get rich. Then by the time 4 years is done, I'm like, oh.
Don't forget us.
Yes, I'm like, oh.
You mean there's people out there as
Let
well?
me just get an extra hour work.
I didn't know she knew other people other than us.
So leadership is really the pool that it's picked from. You can't change who you are just because you've gone into your president or your minister or you're this. We have a lot of blame game, number one. Huge sense of entitlement as Zambians.
These are all things that we've said on previous podcasts as well, that it is this entitlement, it's this overeducated, underqualified, it's me first. You're supposed to be there working for the people.
Yes.
But instead they make themselves rich first. And if anything, politics, government was just was the easiest, not easy per se, but the avenue to get rich, right? So yeah, I mean, like, it's taking farming, for example, and going, okay, if I'm farming, how can I be the richest farmer?
Yes.
Nobody does that kind of thing.
Me.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So if it feels here, it's like you end up with a certain level, but you never grow beyond that level. It's like when I first came, I was like, there's no franchises in Zambia, because people don't seem to have this concept of, I've got one, I can have 10, They might have 2 or 3, but, the Americans, it's like, it must be on Starbucks is on every freaking street, Like, do you need, opposite each other, there's 2 Starbucks, We just don't have that kind of mentality.
I must be known that it's mine.
It's an ownership thing.
People must know that I am the managing director of Bien Donne Farm. People must know. The car I drive must reflect the position that I have. Where I go must reflect the position that I am. I'm a farmer. If you find me at the farm, I'm in overalls and a t-shirt the whole day. I just look like you took me out of a freshly dug potato sack. But other people, you cannot be seen like that. I've gone to a meeting dressed in my overalls because I was running late, and I just said, I'm not going to go home and change. And I walked into this meeting, and this lady looks at me, and so all the men walk in. I was on a phone call, then I walked in, and she says, Kalani apa wa mai? I was like, okay, we're not even going to speak English, but it's fine. If we speak Nyanja, it's fine. So the meeting starts. Now everybody in there is waiting for the one who's the center of the meeting.
For the Kalani apa person.
Yes. So he comes out and he says, but what are you doing seated here? So I said, I never knew that in Kalepano. So the man looks at her and says, but she's the reason why we're here for the meeting. And then she goes like, oh, I didn't realize because of the way she dressed. And the man says, she's a farmer.
Wow.
And I know.
Nice. Huh?
Yeah, and I know people like presentation, but come on, if I go into a bank that they don't know me, even the language, I'm not saying that English is how we should be greeted, but it's just, Mwabombe ni mkwai. I'm like, okay.
No, it's Nyanja, not Bemba.
Yeah,
No.
Mwabombe.
Us Bembas will be like, hello, how are you? Please come in.
Angalani apa, lindirani first. And they'll allow everybody to pass me. And sometimes I'm just like, okay, for research purposes, let me see how far this will go. Wow. And if I come in dressed up, I'll be treated differently.
Exactly.
But you look at it and you think, why do you judge somebody based on how?
But the Bulls walk into a bank with their socks and their their shorts.
No, but what's their complexion?
Yes.
But what's their complexion?
That's the point, Kaidi.
You know what? I'm not gonna get into that.
No, I will. My dad's white.
But
my dad's white.
But even with that, right? When I first came back, I think I had got used to, you know, in the UK, like there's you have, it's still stereotypical, but you have bankers are suited and booted.
Yes.
The creatives are like tattoos and dreads and, you know, funky outfits that don't make sense, and like you have different types of people. The tech people are in their hoodies and then when I came here, I was like, Muzungu's Jesus Sandos. These are just farmers. They're farmers or they are working for some NGO, you know, and I'm like, I know you guys. You're the ones who have like the basic two up, two down, they call them in the UK. Basic house. Here, you found heaven. Someone has put you on a nice big yard. You've got a nice car. You have none of this in the UK, you know. But you don't get the creatives. You don't get the Muzungu who's the creative, who, you know, like dresses funky. They're all Jesus Sandos. And I'm like, where are the others? You know, these are not the only Muzungus. There's others.
My dad will walk into a place and he will be treated in a certain way. And then when he calls me, like he wants to introduce me, he'll say, come baby, that's what he calls me, come my baby. And I've heard comments where like, these days, and I'm like, okay. And I'll play, because I'm petty like that, so I'll play along.
Wow.
And my dad is typical French. If he sees me, you know, the kisses, the what, and he's talking to me, and if I've hurt myself, like, but what happened here? I'm like, keep talking, keep talking. Then when he walks away, I'm like, Dad.
You look at Daddy.
Like, Dad. It's like, oh, this is my daughter. And you can see the shock on people's faces. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, you've never heard of, you know, adoption. But, you know, I'm asked, but my husband was once told, your wife at the time, girlfriend, your girlfriend is here with an old white man. So he's like, old white man. Then he described him and he goes, that's her father.
What do you mean her father?
No, not the way they're seated.
But again, judging, you know, like making judgments of you as a person. Like, you can't even be successful for yourself. You must be with this old white man.
Yes.
You know, not even taking a moment. Because I have a similar thing. Like, my mom is Zambian, my dad is white. My two sisters are adopted. So we've got this, like, very strange looking family. And you can see people just staring like, how does this all work?
They're like, so this one family? And this one, okay, yes.
Yes.
But those two,
how does this?
And this,
No, it's like when I'm having, like, if I make an appointment for a meeting, right? And I figured this one out. If I'm going more government, more traditional, I'll be like Thandi Shinka, and I'll end at that. And then if I want to meet a certain person within the government, I'll put the Favard at the end. And when I walk in, they're like, you know, and people are not shy to say this, eh? On the phone, you sounded colored. I'm like, well, I was born darker.
I am. Chocolate.
I am. And they'll really expect, like,
okay. That's why we gave you the appointment.
They are very
But let's get back to our business here. There's been a transition from the time you were doing 100,000 per month to where you are right now. What has been the difference? What has caused all this? And let's start with that first.
So most of it is the ZESCO situation, the drought as well, which has caused a huge increment in cost of production. So as you know, the maize last season was terrible.
Yeah.
The soya was terrible as well. So, and the feed pricing is really attributed to the dollar, which I don't understand if we grow the product
Everything
ourselves.
is here.
I won't speak on it because I don't understand.
No, we should, because there's an SI, there's a draft regulation being talked about. It was talked about It was introduced to Parliament in June or May that all local transactions have to be in kwacha.
It will still increase the
Not
pricing,
US
yeah.
kwacha, but kwacha.
It will still, it won't, for me, I don't see it making any difference. It will still mean that the price will still fluctuate up and down, whether it's a dollar, whether it's kwacha. Because in Zambia, we're very quick to increase the pricing, but when the cost of production reduces, we don't reduce.
that goes
Obviously, it's a
down,
market,
100%.
it's a market
No,
thing.
Yeah.
in economics.
But the problem is when you've got a volatile market in the first place, you know, it's still constantly going up rather than down, you know.
Yeah.
So
But
we
carry on,
got we got an inquiry from UAE again to send whole birds. They use them for falcons.
Yeah.
And I can't compete with that. They're saying, listen, when we get it from Egypt, we get it between 1,000 to 1,250 per ton. My cost of production puts it at $5,550 per ton.
But hold on. Egypt and that region, it's like, what's that, 4 hours car flight?
Yeah, but
Difference.
still their cost of production is way lower than us. I mean, every other week there's an increase on feed in Zambia. But you can't blame the feed companies. The increase of maize, you can't blame the maize growers. It's all, and this is one thing that I've learned in this country that we don't understand, that everything is intertwined with the other. So when you do this, it's going to affect this. The power situation, a company like mine spending over 200,000 on diesel at cash every month, what's that going to do to my business?
100%.
And now suddenly, as at August, we were producing 90,000 birds per month. We've now dropped to about 35,000. And that's simply because you're not walking into a store and buying your meat for the month or for the week.
It's for the day.
For the day.
I'm buying for the day.
So are you going to buy quail? You know, you buy it, instead of buying 5 packets, you buy 1 because you're like, it's going to go bad if I buy all of it. Now, I can't produce with the assumption that you're going to buy 10 next month because there's no projected, from ZESCO to say this is how, so they say A today and they do B tomorrow. But businesses have to plan.
It's crazy.
Plan. You can't do what is happening right now. No, you're going to get 7 hours of power. Okay. Next, no, you're going to get 3 hours of power. How do you plan?
Because
Well, you saw my lights came on. I had minutes,
Yes.
not hours. You know,
It's like, okay, here, it's a
freaking
bit,
joke.
they
you
came to
know?
say hi.
Yeah.
If this was in the UK, and I said this before, they would all be fired. ZESCO would be sued to the hills
Yeah.
for loss of business.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, we have issues of competence here. Remember, we have to clap for people for
Even
giving
if
us
you don't
power.
like it.
Clap for me. Clap for me. Yeah. So, how has that affected your labor force now?
I used to be, when I was at 90,000, I had a total of 65 people. I've dropped to 28. So that's X amount of people without a job. And there's nothing I can do about it. I can't afford it. So you're talking about job creation on one side, and you have companies such as mine that can do that, but we don't have the support that is required for us. Getting a loan is expensive, and in a market where you don't know what tomorrow will bring, whether and you know, people are like, get solar. I'm like, okay, fine, my solar quotation is 1.5 million and I'm running the genset. Where am I going to get that 1.5 million? You want me to go back to the bank? So for the next 60 months, all I'll do is work for the bank. You know, where am I going to get my profits? Where am I going to improve my life? Where am I going to improve the life of my workers? So all we do is just work for somebody else. But this is a business that can actually put this country on the map, because Zambia is the largest producer of quail in Southern Africa. And it's not a me thing. And this is where I think I'm misunderstood quite a lot. It's not about me. It's about, like I said, using us as a guinea pig to get the perishable product into other countries. Why should we import all the way from Brazil when we have our own neighboring countries that can produce? But there's no bigger picture. There's none of that.
What are you doing? Do you want to chime in? So you are spending 200,000 kwacha on fuel for your gensets, and that's without the maintenance of the gensets.
Without the maintenance.
Okay. Have you approached the energy company known as ZESCO?
No.
As nothing? You haven't?
No. What's the point?
You think they won't listen to you? Or have you heard of others in your business, not particularly Quail, who are trying to approach ZESCO to find a way of doing this?
No.
Because they were releasing statements like for commercial and whatnot, we're giving you this and that.
No.
Good Lord.
It's just, it's you know, if we had a culture of, if I work at this and do my job well, it will benefit X, but it will benefit me as well. We have a detachment to how what I do will be beneficial to the next person. So if you don't have power for 4 days because your poles have dropped, like I think you saw I tweeted that way, for 5 days we never had power because our neighbor, I don't know if it was our neighbor or somebody else, burnt a bush and about 4 poles burnt to the ground.
Which is also illegal anyway.
Yeah, but that was the time when we were only having 3 hours of power. Yeah. So if you are seated behind a desk and you don't realize that if we don't fix this now, the little power she gets will cost her more. We don't have that, you know, that thought to say, if I do this, it's going to affect like this and this person, because at the end of the day, because it's not me making the loss, I don't care.
But I think that's where what Chanda's saying about you approaching them isn't to get anything, but it's to apply pressure on them.
I don't think they would.
Not just you. I think if everybody did something like that, that's when they start to realize, even once they solve this problem, this period that we're in, they have to continue to improve. And the problem is, if we don't tell them, you guys are just a pure waste of space, then they'll just keep being that.
But remember the mentality we have, and this is why I go back to saying it's an us problem. So if I go and if we stand 20 people and say, listen, we're going to do this, we're going to go to ZESCO and we're going to talk it out. Out of those 20 people, there's going to be 3 people that will go and tell ZESCO, now listen, okubabwera. Wabokamba vasona sona so maona ninamiuzanika so inemunisunge bwino. At the office, if you're all complaining about salary increments, there's always that one character who go to HR. This side, they are planning a riot this side. So, am I wrong?
No, not at all.
During Kaunda, there was a togetherness. During Kaunda, there was, if we stood up for something, whether you agreed to it or not, well, I was young, but I read a lot. Whether you agreed to it or not, you're going to be part of those people that went and stood for that. But we don't have that.
There's a saying, I think people don't understand that there's companies abusing people's rights. And that's particularly what ZESCO is doing. All right. So like what Tanya said is poke a bit. All right. Especially because the government in power came under the premise of being the clever boys. You remember?
And they said, this would never happen with us.
Exactly.
You know?
So look, as much as it's frustrating, annoying and whatnot, what's going to happen one day is you're going to wake up and say, from the 28 people I have, guys, I only need 18.
No, I'm not even going to do that. I have been offered to move it to a different country.
Wow.
Better support.
And are you considering that?
The thing is that if you're not of, you know, I like I was telling you to say, when I come back home, you just know how far you can fight with your police. You know, like, so there's nothing that can happen to me. But when you go to a different country, it's a whole different playing field. As much as you're going to get that support, people are just going to be like, oh, after all, she's not Zambian, so we can behave this way. It is an opportunity, but I'm very, very patriotic. I'm a very patriotic person. So it is something that for years, I was offered this years ago.
And it's still on the table.
It's still on the table because of the amount of income the quail can bring in. Because if you're talking about 300,000 packets of quails, we sell them 95.80 per packet. How much is that? That's over 28 million kwacha coming in as forex into the country. But nobody wants to see it as that. If I was bringing in 50 million kwacha into the country every month, ZRA will come up with a new law, trust me. They'll be like, yeah, you need to add VAT to tax.
That's right.
you know.
It's
So
judging.
there's no, it doesn't feel like we're being, it's not help, it doesn't feel like we're being cushioned to grow, because that's what we need, that cushioning to grow.
Yeah. This country isn't made for that. Like in the UK, everything is about how do we improve business. You know, we were in a downturn. How do we make this upturn happen quicker? Help more companies to do better.
Yeah.
Here, it's just like,
It's your problem.
it's finished. What we were going through is finished.
But
There's no progress.
but
There's no to be better.
I agree. The UK also has a different kind of mentality. All right. At some point, even the dumbest, most stupid prime minister they have realizes it's wild. It's about the people. The people want this. I'll cave in. They want an election. I'll do it.
But they're much more noisy and vocal. Here, they're not.
Yeah, well,
This is
those
the
are.
problem.
Well, quite
This
want
is
to
the
drink
problem.
alcohol actually.
No,
Why drink alcohol and
we are
become-
noisy on what we believe matters.
As in Canon supporters.
No, but you know, I might get dragged for this to the fifth, but if you take away, like I said, dragged to the fifth for this, if you take away alcohol from us Zambians, not Zambians, us Zambians, you take away condoms from us Zambians, and you take away ARVs, you're going to see a reaction. Trust me, you will, especially the alcohol. Do you remember the uproar that was there when they said you can't sell alcohol before 10? But let somebody be in a corruption case of $8 million. You hear about it one day, and the next, gone, because somebody decided to undress and walk on Cairo Road naked. So
And
that will
deflect.
become our focus.
This is what they said. The Chella's thing was a distraction.
Distraction.
So, yeah.
But it's just that we're very easy to distract from what matters.
To manipulate, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
And I
yeah,
always give an example of saying, if you have a child and there's a painting in the bedroom and the child comes and tells you, Mommy, the painting in the bedroom gives me nightmares. And you're like, no, you also just don't look at it. You know, baby, you should pray. Such things shouldn't bother you. And then the child says it again and again, and in the end you're like, oh God, okay, fine. So what you do as a parent, instead of removing the painting out of the house, covering it and putting it somewhere, you decide to move it to the hallway. So what you do is you tell the child, you're not that important. This painting is more important than you. So you have the people that are talking about, but guys, there's this corruption going on. Guys, there's airstrips in this country that you never knew about that fly things out of this country. But
Flying a whole hippo out of the country.
yes, but and then we want to sit again and blame the leaders. It's not. The leaders are chosen from us. I would probably do the same thing. I know there's a giraffe being flown out of Zambia. I'm like, yeah, I brought in $10,000 and I chewed a 5,000. We're good.
150 pin.
For as long as you're benefiting,
Yeah,
you're okay.
like there was black later being flown from the national park to a private place. It just died.
It just died.
Yeah, but yeah, it's very interesting what she's saying. Huh? It's difficult what you're going through and what everyone else is going through, but you know, in tough times also there's thinking of plan B or other things other than you being offered to relocate to another place. Are there any other plans of diversifying? Because you stopped the chickens, but what else can you do? Have you thought of anything else to do to sustain the business?
So I'm not going to sit here and make it look like I have a plan B or there's, you know, all sorts of things I can do. I've just reached a point where I said, I'm good at quail, I'm going to run with the quail, and when I'm frustrated with it, I'm just going to say enough. Because you can't, you know, business-wise in Zambia right now, we're constantly in survival mode. And, you know, fight or flight mode. And your body, your mental state can only take so much. You're seeing a lot of young people, our generation, our age groups, are just dying, killing themselves, or stroke, or heart attack. It's because you're constantly thinking, how am I going to make this work for tomorrow? And you get banks that are claiming, oh, we received $300 and something million from X, and we're going to start giving, you know, the entrepreneurs, the SMEs. That money never gets to the SMEs.
I know.
It never does. So where does it go?
Exactly.
You know what they do with it? They buy government bonds.
But they're allowed to do that. So again, in that instance, I don't blame the banks. These are here to make money. They're not here to feel sorry for the SME.
Yeah.
But
very
if they're allowed an environment where they can do that, they will do that. If government is borrowing at, just for the sake of, just conversation, if government is borrowing at 30%, why would you give me a loan at 28? You're going to give it to me at 32. So that I don't get encouraged to borrow, and government comes and borrows that money from the banks. They borrow the CDF money.
Yes, that's what's happening.
Borrow your own money back.
Yeah. All right. You want to add anything before I wrap it up?
No, okay.
You want to tell us about your relationship with ZRA?
Like I said, it's just, I was charged, well, actually it's better, I must say.
It's improved.
Yeah, it has, I must say. For me, I say what is on the ground, I must say. And I think it was a situation where they had to come and see exactly what I was doing. Like I said, not everybody knows Quail. So see what I'm doing. Oh, it's Quail. Oh, you look after it like chicken, blah, 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 blah. And that was the end of it. But, because of how business has fluctuated up and down, businesses are asked to pay the council, we're asked to pay ZRA, we're asked to pay this. There's so many levies, so many statutories that we have to pay. And it's just becoming impossible. Yeah. Like I said, we're not being cushioned. And we're not asking for free money. We're saying, give us cheaper money. CEC. Who are they giving money to? Have you heard anyone who's borrowed money?
I can't say.
I haven't applied. I'm not going to say I applied, they declined. It's just some of these things you look from afar, like, yeah, I don't know if I want to try.
I think they've got the cheapest money right now. Other than
12%.
Yeah,
they do.
They've got the cheapest money. But you should try them if you need the finance.
The thing that bothered me is we had this group conversation, and one of the people there says, oh, I borrowed money, but with CEC, when you write a letter and say you can't pay this month, they don't bother you. But you see, that's not a CEC problem. That's a me problem. How can that money is supposed to be revolving? So if you pay back, that means that they can lend out to more people. But they're not paying. People are not paying. And then we're very quick to blame CEC itself. But as always in Zambia, everything is political. So if a group of ABCs complain to say, no, CEC is doing this, is doing that, but you're not paying, even 5,000 a month, pay it.
Yep.
So that money can go to somebody else who needs the money. Same with CDF. Make a cooperative. So we make a cooperative here, we agree, listen, we're going to get 2 million, you're going to get 1 million, you're going to get 1 million, you're going to Dubai, she's buying a BMW, I'm going to China.
She's so clever, this
I
one.
know.
Let's do this. Well,
but that's what people are doing.
I should have done this a long time ago.
But that's what people are doing.
With
And there's
money.
nobody checking up on them to say they're really doing what their proposals say they're doing.
Yeah, that's very
So
true.
again, let's commend government on doing what they did with CDF, for example. But again, it falls on every one of us to make sure that fund is revolving, but it's not.
And on that note,
Yes.
what do you want to say to our dear guests?
No, very interesting. I think you've dived into topics that I don't know a lot about, but very interesting to see your perspective. You haven't just given us a top layer.
Yeah.
You've gone like 4 layers down. And I think that's what people lack, an understanding of, just how deep can you go with something, or how much do you need to work through something to still make it work, You've been very generous sharing your numbers as well. I know you haven't shared everything, but the best way to evaluate something is through the numbers.
It's
like
through the
that,
numbers,
So just because you say, no, I work very hard. No, we all do. But when you show us how much it costs, that's the real value.
It's the cost of production has just. And like I said, I'm not here to advertise ShopRite or anything, but they've really, really supported me. They have. Like I would have probably shut down 3-4 years ago. And they just said, you're not going anywhere.
Wow.
We're here, what do you need? They won't give you free money, let's get that correct. But they'll find avenues to help you stand. They'll give you maybe shorter payment, a lot of people complain and say, yeah, when you go there, they want this, they want that. I'm like, well, improve your negotiating skills.
That.
You can't say that the buyer told me 60 days and you just sat there and said yes.
Exactly.
Did you say, no, I can't do 60 days, I can do 30 days?
Yeah.
80% of their agri-product is Zambian. You want to ban the importation of baked beans. Are you making baked beans?
Exactly.
Why are you looking at me like that?
No, I'm just saying. No, don't bring in any more bacon. Don't import any more bacon. Don't import any more Polonia. But guys, the Zambians have got the right to choice.
Yes. Yeah.
You can't come and force me to get only a certain type of bacon. I have
That's
the right.
like my frustration with Zambian cheese. It's terrible.
I have the right to get a different,
Yes.
then put on more, what do you call it, more tariffs if you want, make it expensive. But I have the right to choose that I don't want this cheese, I want that cheese.
Exactly.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up with one last question. How do you see your business, all things equal, contributing to the growth and development of the agriculture sector?
Well, I always thought that we did contribute to the agriculture sector, but lately I feel like we're not even considered, because there's no, going back to it, there's no that kind of unity to try and improve. Because I'm me in my sector. Yes, you have people that have quails, but not to the degree at which I have them. So I think that plays a part on saying, yeah, but she's already a big company, so why should we?
But I think you made a good point very early on. You said you're in survival mode.
Yes.
And survival mode does not have generosity.
No.
And if all of you are effectively in that phase, I don't think you're going to work well together.
No, we can't.
Yeah.
But in the agriculture, it's a very united sector, so to say. There is competition. But there's, you're talking to this farmer and saying, how are you doing? What's going on? You're talking to that farmer, what's going on? And all of us are complaining about the cost of feed and the cost of, energy.
Yeah.
But
is it going to improve? Right now, I don't know.
No.
I did have
no.
hope, but I don't know.
Yeah. I think you've got a long way to go before the tide turns.
Will it?
It will do, but you've got a long way to go.
There are options. The
Hope
tide
and
will
prayer.
turn, the elections will come.
Yeah.
A lot of
But
things are going to happen.
even if we can talk about that. I know we're supposed to wrap up, but even if we go to elections, what's going to change?
Options aren't there.
No, it's not even about the options. What's going to change?
Well, you don't know until the next
don't know.
person comes in, like Trump coming in, right? Trump is just a complete change of what there was. And it hurts me to say this, but you need a candidate who can have that impact to change things. I was going to say who's like Trump, but no, that's not what I mean.
Yeah.
Someone who has that impact to change. Someone who believes in the market that you're working in. My assumption is that HH does, because he's also he's got his animals. And
so when the late Uncle Levi Mwanawasa was in power, he was a cattle person. Then the late Rupia Banda came in. He then diverted to chickens. Then the late Michael Sata, I don't remember what he did. He wasn't really into agriculture that much, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. Then our
Him.
Edgar Lungu came in. He was fish.
Okay.
And then now the current president is cattle. Now, if each candidate is going to come in and start improving a sector to which they prefer, what happens to the sector that they began to improve? So you spent 20 billion on bringing in village chickens, Boschville chickens. That was growing. And then you come in, you want to do cattle. So that dies. 20 billion is gone. Not that that's the amount, but 20 billion is gone. So now let's concentrate on cattle. Then the next guy is going to come in and want rabbits. So we're going to abandon the cattle project. Then we're going to go to the rabbits. Then after that, maybe it's quail. We're going to abandon
But that's
the
what I'm
rabbits.
saying. I think to a degree,
Yeah.
let's say in a more broad sense that they have an eye on farming, right? Whichever farming that is, And I think what I'm trying to say is, as a whole, farming has suffered. It doesn't matter whether you are just doing vegetables, fish, or quail. How does that industry recover, right, to the state that it was pre-COVID, let's say?
Because the damage started with COVID in the
exactly.
farming. And we haven't recovered from COVID.
Absolutely no plan. The guys, the powers that be, were not open to suggestion from the professionals running these businesses.
But again, it's the short-sightedness of a lot of politicians.
I agree, I understand. And once you dive, you fall into that pit, you can't come out, because your way out is your friend there saying, this is what he's done.
Yes.
So vote for me instead.
Yeah.
But we'd like to thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you.
You've been very, very gracious to come
Thank
to
you.
our podcast.
Thank you. This is my first podcast. Remember I told you,
I think
I
you
don't
would
know.
be great on other topics as well, because she can talk this one. The topics that will come out of her.
You mean she's like you?
No.
Also,
We clicked.
there's one coffee. We're going to make sure we've got one coffee.
Yeah.
1 cup of water.
That's
it. Gin.
Oh,
Gin
if
from
the
gin.
gin comes out, you're like, okay, so which police station are we going to choose? Is it Matero?
But we know that you're good with the police, so
Is
it's
it?
okay.
That's what I said. When
Negotiating
you
skills.
I say that when you are home,
Yeah.
you know your limitation to how much you can talk. Go to South Africa and shout at the police the way we would shout here. People are like, here, you are a foreigner. But here it's like, so why so you can have that, and that's what makes home.
Yeah.
How far can you go with the law?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our new podcast friend. We've got two now. We've got Thandi and
Yeah.
Thandi. Imagine.
I know.
The other Thandi is also, oh my gosh. But
So it's the name.
yeah,
Must be.
you need to say bye.
To everybody.
Yeah.
You haven't said bye.
I say bye when
Okay.
you're done.
Until the next one. See ya.
Bye.
A plus.
1